Islam, brothers and sisters. This is Brother War Smith-Bey, the host of the Black News Network, BNN 247, coming at you live on this Sunday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. BNN 247 is a Black perspective presentation of what's happening in our world today. We do not own the rights to the music, but we do own the rights to what we say. Without further ado, I want to bring in my co-host from hailing from Houston, Texas. This is Mr. Claude Foster. How are you doing, Mr. Claude?
Hello, my brother. Glad to be with you on this crisp October day.
Got up this morning. It was 41 degrees here in B-More, man.
It was low here in Houston too. It's like in the 60s. So compared to 90s all week. So we're blessed today with some beautiful weather.
Yeah. Well, that's just a wonderful thing. I'm so glad that we can be blessed to see a day like today.
Oh yeah, definitely, my brother.
I was looking at a few things and I came up with this thought about why is it that it's so difficult for us to move forward with whatever agenda we may have. And my deduction was that every step of the way, in other words, if you're building up in a corporate America, there's a tier system.
Yeah.
And every step you're going to encounter somebody for some reason, for something. And most of the time when you encounter those people on those levels, they're not going to look like us. They don't look like us. These are white men. And I'm sorry to be the one to bring the news to our public and our listeners, but we need a few good white men to help us navigate this tier system that's in place and been in place for hundreds of years. And if we don't enlist somebody white to get in here and start paving a way or start setting the path for us, in other words, we got to do what we have to do to get to the levels that we need to get to. And we cannot get there just sticking to our guns as being Black. We don't have to change our character. We don't have to change who we are, but we want to move forward and we want as few obstacles in front of us as we have to navigate. And by having that white good man on your team, it's going to give you that strength and that avenue to move through those obstacles that they have set in place to keep you from getting where you need to go. So that is the perception of what I'm talking about today, or what we are talking about today. And I would like Mr. Claude to give you his perspective of what I mean, or what he looks at when he says we need a few good white men. So, Mr. Claude, break us off. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. We start off real good, but then as we get into the program, sometimes seems like we lose. Yeah, it fades in and out.
Okay, so go ahead. Give us your perspective of having a few good white men.
Well, it's going to be an easy perspective, but let me just back up to last week's show. Okay. Last week's show left me emotionally exhausted.
Really?
Because what we talked about was Negroes and Negroes with guns is basically what we talked about.
Yeah.
But the show centered around it begs the question, why don't we fight back? Why didn't we fight back? Why don't we fight back even today? But it was just for me, it was kind of that kind of emotional show. By the end of the show, I just lost for words because I couldn't explain it.
Because we're so behind on the process. Is that what you're saying? Because we don't have, they got 77 million guns to our 9.7 million.
It's not so much that we're behind on the process, but if you got a history of not fighting back, you're going to continually be abused. Yeah. And we don't have a history of fighting back universally in this
Mhm.
country.
You're perceived as weak.
We're perceived as weak, and we keep being taken advantage of. Now, to your and so that's what left me at that point of saying, where do we go? I mean, what has happened in our history that changes that?
Hmm.
And but to answer your question about the legal thing, who
Hmm.
wrote the Constitution? White men.
White men.
Who made the court decisions?
White men.
White men. Who made the statutes that we live by?
White
White
men.
men. Who takes executive action for the most part? White men.
White men.
Who controls the regulations?
White men.
So who best to represent black folks when it comes to addressing every aspect of our lives?
White men.
That answers your question.
That's just an eloquent and beautiful analogy of what we talking about today, boy. That was beautiful. That
I
was
mean,
beautiful.
I mean, I'm not saying that, like, you're War Smith-Bey, right?
Mm,
You know everything in your universe, right? So you
right,
could figure it out, right?
right.
So you're the lawyer in your family, so to speak,
Mm,
because regardless of the situation, you're the head of that household. You're gonna figure it out.
right. That's my job. Yeah.
And so the head of the Constitution, the head of the Supreme Court, the head of the all these different institutions that we have to go to if we want to get anything done. If we got to start a business, if we got to whatever, we didn't create them.
No, we did not. We didn't create the Internal Revenue Service, but in order to
I,
do anything on a business or whatever, we got to get involved with those people.
and white lawyers have been at the forefront of all of our institutions anyway. It was white lawyers that
Yep.
founded the NAACP. That was
Mhm.
their profession. White lawyers.
Mhm. That's right. I'm kind of scared though, because with this just little bit of information we brought up already, it says that we are not going to. We got to have a good white man somewhere in our chain in order to break down that barrier. Otherwise,
Well,
we ain't going nowhere.
well,
Because a lot of us want to stand and say, "I'm black. I can do this all by my damn self," but it just ain't gonna happen.
well, it's like this, right? When we look at the politics that we're in today, right? And you
Mm,
say, okay, I can understand why the black political class or the black middle class kind of gears toward the Republican Party, right? Hard
mm,
work,
mm,
education, all this kind of stuff, right?
mm.
And then I can kind of understand why the Democrats, black Democrats, kind of gear toward the Democratic Party because of their the issues. This government knows best. This kind of socialist. We're gonna provide you this. We're gonna provide you with food. We're gonna provide you with everything that you need. Right? The government can do it. Right?
Mm.
And that's black Democrats. I don't understand poor white Democrats.
It's always about black
I
Democrats.
mean, I'm not poor white Democrats, but I don't understand why poor whites are part of the Republican Party.
I think the poor whites follow Donald Trump
Why?
because this is why they follow Donald Trump, because Donald Trump said something when he and Hillary got into a debate in a town hall. And what he said was he paid $12 in taxes. And Hillary tried to capitalize on that and said, well, he should go to jail or something to that effect. And his response was, I'm smart. I said, if you want to fix what I'm paying for taxes, fix the tax system. You can't
But
do
a,
shit with what
but
I'm
what
doing.
but what does a poor white have in common with that analysis you just gave?
It's all about the perception. It's the same thing with what's your favorite football team? What's your favorite baseball team? Favorite basketball team? It's the feeling you have inside based on how you feel about that team. It revolves around food, revolves around athletics, revolves around music, revolves around movies, revolves around everything. You got to favorite something. And poor white people are partial to Donald Trump. It ain't the Republican Party, it's Donald Trump.
Okay, so
These people are favorite to him. not to the party, to him. And
Okay.
he can be whatever the hell he want to be, but these poor white folks will be on his team.
Okay.
And he's just catering to them, because what he's saying is borderline racist rhetoric. Because he said, "Well, I'm gonna kick all these immigrants out," and basically he's saying, "I'm gonna kick all these niggas out." That's what he's trying. He hinting
Well,
at shit like
well,
that.
I didn't want to get too much into politics, but we start voting tomorrow, right?
Yeah,
And I was just wondering. I mean, I know Obama's theme was keep, hope, right?
keep hope alive. Like this guy.
Hillary's theme was breaking the glass ceiling, right? What is
We can
Kamala's?
do it. Somebody
What
was
is
we can do it.
yeah? What is Hillary? What is Kamala's theme?
She doesn't have one.
Yes, she does. Every president
I
has
haven't
one.
heard a theme from her. If you're in the audience and you know the theme, send a text. Tell us what it is.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
Tell
know.
us what it is.
Because
But
I
getting
can
back, but getting back
yeah.
to getting back to the lawyer.
Mm.
There are 46 million or so black folks. How many do we have enough black folks there for every black person to have a lawyer?
Enough
Eh,
black people where?
Enough black lawyers, because most of the black lawyers are probably going to be in the urban areas, right?
Yeah.
What about the
What about what? Okay, you got a little bit froze, Claude. You got a lot of things open on your computer, because a lot of times if you got all these programs open, it'll freeze you out. But anyways, I don't know Kamala's theme, but I do know that her message ain't much different than any other politician. I don't want to focus on Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, because they both are not, they're different. They're not any different. They're the same group of people, because no matter what happened in this election, after all this shit we do, fighting for this one or fighting for that one, at the end of the day, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump will be sitting over there at the Hilton or the Trump Motel or the Trump restaurant having dinner together, because they do this together. They stand apart, they fight each other on national television, but they get behind the screens of, "Damn, Kamala, you did a damn good job today." And she said, "Well, you did too, DT, your damn lying ass." Shit like that. This is what they do.
right?
And we don't see that part of the camaraderie they have. They're the same people on the same team, working for the same purpose, no matter how you look at it.
Well,
How you-
if you
no matter how you
well,
look
if you look back to what we just talked about, the Constitution, the courts, it's the same. I mean, they represent the same interests,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too.
they're like lawyers interpreting what all that different stuff means, or how does it apply.
Donald Trump had about 25 lawyers on his team. He
Oh,
had a lot of
probably more than that. But when it comes to white lawyers, I mean, like I say, for me, it's an easy answer. I mean, you want
If
somebody
you got in a situation, you would get a white lawyer before you got a black one.
What was that? What was that? I mean, you want a lawyer that's got contacts, right? You want a lawyer that knows that system inside and out, right? I mean, we got a lot of black
lawyers know how to do that too. Now,
yeah, but
what you saying? They have one edge up on the white lawyers, have an edge up on the black lawyers, even though they may have the exact same knowledge base.
right?
And the edge up is that white lawyer is going to face a white judge. I'd say 90% of the time he's going to face a white judge.
Well,
And white to black.
and I think the white lawyer, being white, probably has a different perspective of the system and how to maneuver through that system.
Mhm.
It ain't just always just the law.
Mhm.
Even though you got to have a lawyer at the table, it ain't always just the law.
Mhm.
It's on relationships. It's on a whole bunch of other intricate details that we don't have. That sometimes our lawyers don't have. I mean, that's why we got so-called America's lawyers when it comes to black folks, like Johnny Cochran and the guy down in Florida. They're America's lawyer for injustice, right?
Hmm.
like Johnny Cochran. What's the guy in Florida? Ben.
Ben Carson.
No, Ben. No, the other guy. Ben, the lawyer that
I know
that.
you're talking about Ben Carson, ain't it?
No, it's not Ben Carson. I'll think of his name here in a minute. But when we get in trouble like that with the police or whatever, we call on those lawyers because there's not local lawyers that have the bandwidth to deal with high-profile cases like that.
Hmm. So
So,
you
so
saying you can't bring in a fresh lawyer to handle this particular type case? He has to be seasoned to a
well,
particular level.
well, I think they had to be. Well, you can call it season, you can call it notoriety, you can call it national recognition,
Hmm.
uh, but they got to have something. They got to bring something else besides their law degree.
Hmm.
I mean, it's got to be something else
Hmm.
just besides some obscure law degree. And I just, like I said, when you look at this, the foundation of this country, who's going to understand it better, a
Hmm.
black lawyer or a white lawyer?
Hmm.
I mean,
More,
when you see the,
more
when you
likely it's
see,
gonna be that white
well, let me
lawyer.
ask you a question.
Mhm.
When who's Diddy's lawyer? He's not black.
Mhm. I had to hire a lawyer, and I hired a black lawyer, right? Two black
Mhm.
lawyers, and to me, I'm sorry to say it, but I really think I would have done a lot better if I had hired white lawyers for these cases. But I didn't. I wanted to stay in my culture and hire black lawyers, and that's what I went out looking for, and I got what I wanted. The difference is you're going to get a black lawyer, and you're going to be able to pay a little bit less. But if you want somebody that knows how to navigate that system, like you say, Claude, you're gonna have to pay for it, man. It's gonna cost. You got to put the money out.
I mean, when you look at high profile anybody, right? How, how, ma-
Yeah.
how,
Keep
how many
talking.
of them, how many of them do you see with a black lawyer? I mean, they go out and get the best lawyer money can buy, and very seldom is that an African American lawyer. At least from what I've seen in terms of the people that get in, the high profile people that get in trouble, and then the tight representation. There are exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, they are white lawyers because they got more of the bandwidth, they got more of the influence, they got more of the uh, uh,
Explain the bandwidth when you say. I know what I think it is, but what are you classifying bandwidth
when I say bandwidth, it could be notoriety, it could be experience, it could be the length of time they was a lawyer, it could be their associations. I
as?
mean, the,
Well,
the,
do
the
you have a particular case where you chose a lawyer and you went into the case and you won the case or lost the case, but you said I should have picked this kind of lawyer, or I should have picked that kind of lawyer?
well, the only case I've ever been involved in was a divorce, and it was a white lawyer because I wanted to make sure I came. I
I, you know what? I had a
treated
white lawyer too, but
you know.
I think I got screwed in the
Oh, this.
process. A lady,
Oh,
I
yeah. I
had
had a white.
a lady
I had
lawyer.
a white. I had a white female lawyer, but I came
Me
out.
too. Why do we
Okay.
go get a white female lawyer for a divorce, man?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know.
I got
I
recommended to this lady, and I ain't ashamed to tell you, is her name was Jeannie Wright. She's still a lawyer, but she
I know.
SCHRED
I
screwed me.
know Jeannie right down there in San Antonio.
You know her?
I know her. Yeah.
That heifer can bite my I ain't gonna say
Oh
nothing, but
no,
she
no,
didn't
no,
put
no.
something in my divorce decree that she should have. But she was
But
expensive now. And you
yeah,
know the DA, right? What's his name? The DA in San Antonio was my lawyer too. I had to pay
yeah,
him upwards of $8,000 for
yeah.
one case.
But you're a business person. I'm a small
Mhm.
bit, consulting business person. I don't have a office anymore, but
Mhm.
so I do it from home. But what I'm saying is, when you who did you have in terms of representing your business, in terms of business law, in terms of filling out the documents and all this kind of
Mhm.
stuff, doing your
I had a
taxes?
black lawyer doing that.
You had a
I
black
haven't
lawyer?
gotten screwed on my documents yet, but I did have a black lawyer. And then most of us, when we file our income tax, we don't go to H&R Block or Tax Act.
Well, I've used a black consultant. Yeah, I
Yeah, we
haven't
go
used a
down
black.
to the black consultant office
Right.
and
Yeah.
give them all the stuff and let's see what they're gonna do.
Like my
Even
guy,
with business, we have a nonprofit in Dallas, and we were trying to use a black CPA, two black CPAs, and they were just as dumbfounded as I was with processing the paperwork.
let me tell you, when I
We
first
lost $40,000 fucking with them damn black CPAs.
when
As
I
soon as we got a white one, we got shit straight.
my office was in when I was working for the NAACP. My office was in the Chase Bank building, right there on 610, and there was two black accountants in the office that I had to do my taxes. I wound up getting audited for 5 years, had to pay thousands of dollars back. And the only reason I went with them is because they was black. I didn't look into their history. I didn't look into their
Sad.
experience.
It's sad we got to go here,
But
right?
I was yeah. It's I'm sure
It's
that
the
there are
truth.
bad
It's the
experiences
truth.
with other groups as well. I'm
So
just saying that on the topic for the day, I just think that all these institutions that were created by whites, that was that the laws, the Constitution, the regulations, and all this kind of stuff. Who better best to
the
understand them
amendment,
and fight their way through
we were never considered doing the writing of these things, and we're technically every single law that's been written that claimed that it was done for us. It was not done for us. It was done for somebody else, but we were just included. So we have been the bastards of this country since day one, and we've been fighting our way to the top. And many of us have made it there to the top. But people have died trying to get businesses off the ground. You've come up with the most brilliant idea, and it was taken from you. Like, look at Eli Whitney, the cotton gin. He didn't get the patent on that.
right.
The first, even the Wright brothers, they were not the first ones to fly. It was a black man with Mr. Stephen Williams, I think that's his name. But he created an airplane. He flew his airplane, put it on the train to bring it to the trade fair, and the train lost the damn airplane. How the F you lose an airplane on a train?
Right.
And that's when the Wright brothers flew their plane, and they're known from time on out that they were the first ones to do flight and technically it was a black man. So every single thing that has to be done, let's talk about the process. Let's say you had to bring in that white dude, right? Mm-hmm. You got to be smart enough to know. Let's say if I wanted a contract in this rural city that was 98% white, and I got the business that could do what they needed for that city. But if I go in there as a black man, they're going to kick my shit to the curb just because I'm black. So I need to empower a white person and train them or teach them what I want them to do and do exactly what I want them to do and send them in to that city and get that contract and bring it back to me so I can sign it.
Right.
And then once I get the contract, I go to work. And this is another case. I opened a bar in San Antonio, and I've had white people come up to me and say, "Is this a black bar?" What kind of shit is that? They telling you that we're not going to spend our money in a black bar. So if I was smart enough and savvy enough as I am now, I would have made sure I was nowhere to be found, and I would have a white figurehead in front of that bar running it. Because if I'm running it, I can turn away customers just by the pigmentation in my skin. But if I put that pale face up there, then I'm going to get the business of the pale faces. But if that pale face ain't there, I'm not going to get that business. They're not going to spend money in my establishment.
There's a lot of franchises owned by black folks, right?
Mm-hmm.
McDonald's, Taco Bell franchises. You will never walk into any of them and see no family portrait of no black.
That's right.
Because we understand in real estate, just like in real estate, when you get ready to sell your house, it's been proven you got to remove everything that would even give the indication that black folks live there for the prices for you to get the fair market value
So
of
you
your home.
can't have your MLK,
You
your
can't have
Malcolm
your
X.
MLK. You can't even
You
have a
got to take
picture
that
of your.
picture down back there with the commitment.
Yeah, you got to take that down. You got to take down pictures of you and your family, all that, because otherwise your property gonna be devalued less.
It's sad, but it's true, ain't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's America. I mean, like you said about your business. Sometimes I don't think it's a matter of whether you're behind the bar as it what where your business is located, kind of thing. I mean,
Location is
yeah,
important too.
if it's located in the black community, it's a black business. I mean,
We
it's
don't
catered.
have there's no black community. There's a perceived black community, but there are no black communities. You got black communities in Houston?
Yeah.
Well, we don't have them here in San Antonio.
Yes, you do. I was up in San Antonio. You got
Where?
black. You got areas perceived as black.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I said, perception, but it
You
ain't
know.
black because there ain't no blacks there.
Well,
It initiated by black people being
well,
there.
put it like this: who was the guy that fought for majority black representation in San Antonio? A majority black
Claude
district.
Black.
Claude Black.
Mm.
That's your black community in San Antonio.
Right there where his church is at, right?
Well, maybe not where his church, but that district. That's the majority. Side. The East Side is a majority black district because he fought for that. And because you got to understand the history of majority black districts. In the 70s, it was Texas. The white people in Texas filed a lawsuit for single member districts because white rural areas had more representation in the legislature. Well, nothing just the way the law is configured, nothing stops right there. They didn't just black folk. Everybody just can look at that and say, okay, we just gonna have majority single member districts. So what happens next? Black folks say we want majority black districts. So some lawyer went and argued for majority black districts, right? And then the Supreme Court said, well, you can't have majority black districts. They're majority minority districts. So some lawyer went and argued for majority minority districts, what we have today. So to that designation, you're right. There's no majority black district in San Antonio. There's no majority black district in Houston. They're majority minority districts. But the people that, because of the way everything is structured, up until recently, you've had basically a black person representing that district in the legislature and city council, and then even in county commissioner, a certain area is viewed as majority minority. Even in San Antonio, District 4 or Precinct 4, whatever it is, Commissioner's Court 4 is viewed as a minority.
When they say minority in San Antonio, it's different than when they say minority in Houston.
No, it's the same thing. It's just you got more.
That?
No, we got
Mexicans. When we talking black, it ain't black. It's Mexican. That's minority too, though.
Right, but what I'm saying, your majority minority district, if it's other than white, is minority. And even though Hispanics are not a racial group, under the law, they benefit from that, from being in that category, if you will. Whereas in Houston, you got Asians, you got Hispanics, you got blacks, you got more diversity in that minority. Lot. Right, but
it's a melting pot.
But in the majority black districts, by and large, even though blacks are outnumbered, because those districts were originally created as majority minority districts, black districts, black people still represent them because that's where the power is. Just like in San Antonio, up until recently, black people were the ones that got elected to.
Black people got elected to what? Okay, you froze up a little bit. Um, I'm thinking about how we have to manipulate this system in order to maneuver through it. But in order to do that, I wanted to tell you some of the breakdowns I found when it came to who is who in America. We're basically a nation of immigrants, and all the immigrants are borderline white or white. And that's
Right.
it. That is the issue. We have white Britons, we have white English, we have Irish, Scottish, Welsh, Germans, white Hispanics. I mean, we got Italians, Polish, French, Canadians, Arabs, Lebanese, Egyptians, Norwegians, Russians, Dutch, Swedish, Portuguese, Greek, and on and on and on. All these people classify themselves as white in this country,
Mm-hmm.
and the last group was what's that country? Russia's attacking
Ukraine.
Ukraine. That's the last group. Ukraine people, Ukrainians are here too now. Over 200,000 got taken from Ukraine back and brought here and set up.
I don't think we're counting them, but go ahead.
Yeah, but all of them are white.
Right.
Ukraine is I don't know. Did you ever see any black people in Ukraine?
Well, there are black people over there, and I know they discriminate against them. There are Ethiopians over there, other.
American black. Us.
I don't know. I don't think they.
You see Africans everywhere.
I don't think that they would differentiate between an American black and an African black.
I think they will. But I'm going to tell you why I say that, because of one simple thing. And that one simple thing is nationality. I always go back to this. That African got nationality. That American black does not. So that African can do things that American can't. Now, the American got the perception of clout, but sometimes they have it and sometimes they don't. And because they have the perception of clout, they get access to many things that they go to get access to. But in reality, they're not respected more than that African.
Well, but I think you could look at Israel, right? If an American black goes to Israel, they have rights. I mean, they're treated just like the Israelis in terms of coming and going and what have you. But the Palestinians who look just like the black man don't, right?
They getting towed up, yeah.
So it's nationality. It's not. You are an American, right? So it's your nationality, not your race.
You don't have a nationality.
Yes, you do. Your nationality is American. Your nationality.
They got you hoodwinked, Clyde. I mean, I can explain it and explain, but
I hear what you're saying in theory. What you're saying is true, but what I'm saying in reality, when you take your black self from America and you go to England, you are distinguished from the Africans that are in England based on your nationality, not your race.
But you have to have one, Claude. How do you get a nationality, though? Tell me.
Whose passport do you go over there on?
The USA. But tell me.
Okay, wait. So wait, the USA gives you a passport.
Yeah.
You have to fit a certain category to get a passport, right?
Yeah.
You have to be a naturalized an American citizen to get an American passport.
You said it, but you skipped
it. Right? I mean, I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying that when you go abroad,
you're not recognized.
It's your nationality that's recognized. You're an American.
Yeah, America is recognized.
No, you are an American.
Recognized.
No,
your country is recognized. And I can tell you why. I laid it out several times.
When you pull out your passport, what does it got on there? Your passport.
Asiatic white. Why are you laughing, man? I'm an Asiatic white. What are you?
I just got U.S. citizen on mine.
Oh, so you don't classify with a color or a
Well, it
race.
don't put the color on the
You have to
passport.
classify with a
No, you don't.
distinct.
Not on my passport. I, I, I,
I'm Asiatic, but
you got your pass. You don't have your passport with.
I got my
Did
passport.
you? Okay. Did you have? Oh, you had to have your passport to go to DC.
No, I have to
What?
have
What?
my passport to travel to Mexico or any place like that. But I
And what?
got my passport.
What does your passport say on there?
Give me a second. I'm gonna tell you.
On the front it says U.S. passport, right?
Yeah.
It's got a blue cover, right? It says U.S. passport.
I hope the police ain't after me because if I gotta look this hard to find it, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, you in trouble. 'Cause they don't give black folks that much time to look for nothing.
Yeah, I'll be locked up very quick. All right, so this is my passport. You
Okay,
can get
that's
a
not
pocket
okay. Yeah,
passport.
you can get a pocket passport. What does it say on there?
Let's see if I can get it in
So
there.
can you expand it? Okay, I can't see. I can't make it. Just go ahead and read to me what's on there.
Okay, it says
United
United States of America passport card, nationality USA.
Right, that's what I told you. That's your
Yeah,
nationality.
I
When
mean,
you go abroad, that's your nationality.
I have a
We-
nationality,
Well,
but how did I get the nationality is the question.
all I'm saying, brother, is when you go to what separates you in Britain from that African is that card
Mm.
that's your nationality.
Yeah.
United States citizen.
If only, but everybody, only way you get that card is if you take the oath of amnesty. If you go and apply for a passport, before you can get that passport, you take an oath. You take that oath if you haven't taken it already as a military person, or it's a renewal passport. But an initial passport, if you don't take that oath, you are not a USA citizen. And that's what I'm trying to say. Everybody that don't go take that oath are not citizens. That oath makes you the citizen, and without it, you're not. It's that. I mean, it's a simple thing that a loophole that America put on people that we don't know about.
No, that's not true. Because when I got my passport renewed, I just sit in and I go down, take the passport photo.
You're a military man. You're a military man. What did you do when you enlisted?
Same thing. My daughter didn't have to. My daughter didn't have to go nowhere and take no oath.
Huh?
We applied for my daughter's passport, my wife's passport. She's not military, and she got it in the mail.
Passport. She took that oath. She had to go to the post office, right?
No,
she had to go to an appointment.
No. She had to go to the post office to get the picture and get the form.
That's when they take the oath. You get sworn in right there.
I don't remember.
That's what the post office do.
I don't remember.
That's why they send you to the post office. Otherwise, they can send you to the 7-Eleven.
That's just one of the places you can go.
Agency to get you sworn in, and the person that swears you in has the authority to make you a citizen. You can't just make a person a citizen. You have to have the authority. America has so many citizenized people here that is unbelievable. And if you never took an oath, you are not a citizen. It's simple. And you can read the Constitution, you can read the Emancipation Proclamation, you can read all these documents, the 14th Amendment. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. You are a military man and you got a military family, and they took the oath when they went to the post office. Ask your daughter. I guarantee you she took that oath.
My daughter didn't have to take no oath. I took her down there. She didn't have to take no oath.
All right. Okay. So she never went in a room where they take the photo and had to stand there on the mark and say anything.
No, she didn't have to say. She took the photo. You can go. You can go to one of these little
CVS anywhere and get a photo.
The FedEx stores or anywhere and get the photo made. The
but
passport
you still gotta go to the post office.
No, you can send all that in. You don't have to go to the post office.
You still got to go to the post office. You cannot do a passport without going to the post office.
That's not true, brother.
Claude, ain't no way. The post office is the one who initiates your. Why do you think all immigrants go to the post office? All the Mexicans that come here trying to get citizenship, they go to the post office.
Okay, and you may be right. I mean, I may be wrong.
Right. I know they have to
I
go to
know we eventually wind up at the post office. You're exactly right.
either to drop it in the box or something, right?
But I don't remember my daughter having to raise her hand and take no oath.
When you see her, just ask her, did she take the oath or not? But
I don't.
white men, we need some white men in our system, man. And
Well,
how do we find it? Are there good white men out there that we can utilize?
well, no, I think they found us. They founded about most of our major organizations.
But
They,
we
they
need them. We can't wait on them to find us, Claude.
now what I'm saying is when you go when you go and get in trouble, most of the public defenders don't look like us. Most of the public defenders are white. So what I'm saying is our circumstances, white lawyers in our circumstances, basically because we're the least ones that can afford a lawyer, from in terms of holistically, and so most times we're appointed legal representation, and the sad part about it is most black families do not have an attorney on call,
No, they don't.
and most black families don't. My niece is a lawyer, and I got lawyers in my family now, but most black families don't have legal representation on call that they can pick up for legal advice, pick up and call for legal advice. And most of the institutional lawyers that we go to or services that are out there are going to be primarily white lawyers. I mean, does the NWCP in San Antonio have a legal clinic where they bring in lawyers to people can come in on for legal services on certain days? Do they have that
No,
service in San Antonio? They got the
my
Houston,
knowledge at least. I don't
the,
think.
the larger branches have that. Houston branch has it, a legal clinic.
So y'all go in and you can do.
You can do wills. You can do. They do a variety of services. Deal with taxes, wills, evictions. I mean, you name it. All the stuff that the law profession. Most black people's experience with is in like especially in Texas, it's those lower courts. What do you call the justice of the peace courts? Justice of the peace courts. You know, but most black families don't have a lawyer on retainer. Like when you get in trouble, you just can't pick up the phone and call a lawyer. I
So
mean,
how do you go by that getting this white man in your system to represent you when you really need them to keep? I guess I'm trying to say, how do you get this white man in your system to do what you need him to do? If I need you to go over here and represent me at this company, and I need you to communicate A, B, C, D, and E to this company and get them to communicate it back to you, and this is what I want you to walk away with. How do you get them to that point?
You have to hire them.
What do you find them at? Do you find them on the college campuses? Do you find them in the local job, in the newspaper, or in LinkedIn? Or where do you go get these good white men? Is it possible to even go get good white men? Or are there any good white men out there that we can use?
Lawyers. I don't know how it is in the small towns and stuff. In the small towns, most people know who the lawyers are.
But you keep talking lawyers, though. Why just lawyers?
Well, if you're gonna deal with issues of the law, you got to have a lawyer.
What if you're just trying to get into? I want to get a government contract. What am I gonna go get? I'm gonna go get a white contracting specialist who's knowledgeable about how the government system works on contracts. What if I wanted to go and lease all this heavy equipment? Or what if I wanted to get an appraisal on this property? And I know if I go get the appraiser, I'm not going to get top value for that property. But if I go get the white guy to represent me on this property, I'll probably get a better price.
Well, I don't know whether it's got to be always white. I'm saying if you're in a large city or large town like San Antonio or Houston or Dallas or Fort Worth or Austin, there's probably plenty of black lawyers to be found.
You're not going to get the true value.
What do you mean?
If you got a black lawyer in a lawsuit, right? I think the tendency is to not give you the full benefit of the law. just because you got a black lawyer. But
Well,
if you got,
if there's
huh?
if there's racism and there's racism and
Yes, it
prejudice
is.
in every aspect of our lives. So it
Bam.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about the profession.
You hit the nail on the head, man. You right there. Because look, we looking for a few good white men, and you basically just answer the question. Ain't none. It's bullshit out there. It's corruption. It's lies. And it's people trying to figure out what they can get out of everything. It's
And
more
what I'm saying is,
user spirit than giving
what
spirit.
no, what I'm saying, if you're a black defendant and you got a black lawyer, you think the legal profession of black lawyers don't experience prejudice and bias because
All the
of who
time.
they are?
Yeah.
So you're automatically at a disadvantage, or you could be.
Mm-hmm. All the time, right?
Well,
So
I mean,
if I wanted to go to a preppy school, and I'm hood, I walk in there with my, my swagger on, and I go in there and if my child got coming through looking the same way, got a little swag, and I want to put my child in this Catholic school,
mhm.
and I walk in there, and the admission clerk tells me, "Well, we're full right now, Mr. Smith. You can come back in 6 months. We may have some slots opening."
Yeah, but you assume that they base that on your swag. I don't think your swag had anything to do with it. I think color trumps swag.
Huh?
I mean, color trumps swag. So I mean, you can go in there with all the swag. I don't think that would be the reason they turned you
It was the
down.
color. It was the color, huh?
Yeah, color's gonna trump the swag.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, I mean,
So, so
I mean,
how do
you go,
you? I
but
mean,
I
you
tell you,
can't get around certain things, huh?
but if you go in there with some dollars, dollars can trump color.
That's the only
You got
thing.
the right amount of dollars.
The only way you trump color is with dollars. And so, if you got a lot of money, you don't need a good white man. But if you like most of us here in life today, and trying to make it,
No,
trying to
no, no,
figure out
no.
navigate this system.
Let me correct you.
Mm,
No, if you got a lot of dollars, you're gonna find a good white man.
Cause they gonna want it, right?
No, because that's who you're gonna go out.
Joe
I mean,
Gonzalez. Joe
because
Gonzalez.
you know the system. When Diddy got in trouble, Diddy's law firm, Diddy don't have black people represent him. He got white lawyers.
All white.
I think they're all
I
white.
mean, why did Hugh Hefner get away with it? And
I
Diddy
mean,
can't, and R. Kelly can't. Why
well,
did Hugh Hefner get
well,
away with it? He
well,
had,
we don't
and
know
the
whether or
only
not
white person they got is Epstein, huh?
well, we don't know whether or not he's not gonna get away with it yet. He hadn't gone to trial.
He not gonna get away with that, man. They gonna prosecute him just because it's P. Diddy.
You think so?
They gonna get him because it's P. Diddy. Otherwise, I mean, they wouldn't go as far as they went. But Hugh Hefner, has he ever been to court for anything with all them young girls he had up in that house? And he had about hundreds. He didn't have 5 or 6 of them. People were giving their daughters to Hugh Hefner.
Right.
And they 15, 16, 20.
Yeah, but if the
all
judge
was under 25.
But if the judges, the lawyers,
they were there too.
If they were there, I mean, they're not gonna, I mean, that's America, man. Where money is king, and money kind of controls society to a point.
Mm-hmm.
Money controls society.
So we should we got to figure out though, how do I get this good white man to help me navigate this system?
Money.
That's my biggest concern. I want to know what is it going to take, because I navigated the city with that building. I've converted that gas station. I converted to a bar, but they gave me hell, man. I had wired the entire freaking building with this wire that's wrapped in this metal casing, and the electrical inspector came in and said, "Nope, that's the wrong kind of wire. You're going to have to take that out. Brand new wire now."
Right.
So overnight, me and 2 other electricians when he got that new wire, the blue one with the 3 wires in it, the blue 12, 14 gauge. We rewired that entire building. And the next day, I told him to come back out here and take a look.
But you know, the subjects the subjects we talk about are kind of deep,
mm,
but I understand where you're coming from. I guess what I'm saying is from a standpoint of so are we arguing that that you need white law? I mean that white lawyers are needed?
my argument is that we, as Black businessmen or Black people seeking counsel, we cannot navigate the system properly or effectively
Without a white
without,
lawyer?
without having a connected lawyer. We can go pick any Tom, Dick, and Harry white lawyer or Black lawyer that ain't got a clue what the hell's happening in there. Or we can get somebody like Joe Gonzalez, which that's who I got, and for a case about 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, this guy charged me $8,000 for 3 court appearances, less than an hour each time. And each time he was late. I was raising hell. For $8,000 shit. But he got the case taken care of. He took care of business. So, and then he ended up being the district attorney of San Antonio right to this day. He's the district attorney. And I know him, I'd say semi-personally. And he did his job though. And I think he's a good guy. But the bottom line is, white men, we have to go seek them and pull them into our system. We got to put them in our systems somewhere and put them to work for our purpose, for what we need and for where we are trying to go. Because sooner or later, you're going to need that white man to represent you. And if you don't have one, you're going to be looking for one during when that time come up. And you don't want to have to do that. You want to have them already. So if you don't have one as a business owner or as a future business owner, then my number one recommendation for you is to look for that good white man, which they're far and few between. You know, you might have to go through 1,000 white men to find that one good one. That's a lot of that's a effed up ratio, but that's about the ratio it is. Because everybody else, they want that money. See, I put 2 white women to work in my bar. Biggest mistake I ever made. Biggest mistake I ever made, Claude. These 2 women thought they could do what they wanted to do, and it really caused situations. But my point today for anybody who watched this show is that you got to find that white man to work on your system. But Sister Soldier says that there is no white male out there. Can you hear that, Claude? Do you hear that? I had to make sure you hear this, Claude. Claude, were you able to hear her talking?
Some of it.
Let me put it back on it, and let me know if you can hear this.
I don't hear anything. I heard a couple of beeps, but I didn't hear it. Don't hear anything.
You can't hear it?
Mm-mm.
Basically, Sister Soldier is talking to Phil Donahue, and she's saying that if Cornel West is telling her that there are some good white men out there, and she said, well, who are they? Where are they? why aren't they helping the black agenda if there are some good white men out there? And Cornel West said there's a few of them out there. And she said, well, that's where you and I are different. I don't settle for a few. I need at what I need. And I'm not looking for a few. I'm looking for as many as I need.
Mhm.
So she really broke that down for him. If you haven't seen the clip on YouTube about Sister Soldier interview
Look it up.
with Phil Donahue, you should very well watch that
How
clip.
old, how old is that clip? Phil Donahue been dead for a while.
It's pretty old, but it's to me it's very informative. And there's another book, Claude, that came up to me yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and I wanted to see if you had this book. Give me a sec here. I'm gonna try to pull the book up because I want to know if you got this book that I found. And the book is called. It's by Lee Cummings. Um, it's called Lee Cummings, The 13 Black Colonies. That's the name of the book.
No, I don't have that one.
It's the Negro Question.
The 13th Black Colony.
Yeah, the 13 Black colonies.
And what's the thesis of the book?
It talks about the origin, how we established the Constitution. We set all this up and they took it. So this is a white author. Lee Cummings is a white guy. And basically, the person that was telling me about this book was saying that I should get on his chat room or email list and communicate to him about this book he wrote once I get the book. I ordered the book already, and it'd be here Monday, tomorrow.
The 13 Black Colonies?
Yeah, by Lee Cummings. It's on Amazon too. And I did come up with one other thing I want you to be aware of. And I'm no longer an activist of civil rights. I am a blacktivist.
You know, a blacktivist.
Yeah, how you like my new word?
I like that, blacktivist.
Yep. I'm no longer an activist. I'm a blacktivist.
I don't see. I typed in the 13 Black Colonies.
Put Lee Cummings in there. The name. Put his name in there. And I'm telling this to the viewers too. If you want to know who you are, this is the show to find out who you are. Because everything we talk about here circles right back around to who you and I are, who we are. Because if we don't know who we are, we cannot bring our kids into a world and let them loose in a blind state.
Is it the Negro Question Part 6?
Yes, yes.
The 13
Negro
Black
Question. Yes, that's it. It's
Part 6.
It's about the 13 colonies.
It says, well, the title of the book is the Black Colonies. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the book. I just ordered it, so I'll have it tomorrow, like I was saying. But our purpose here at the Black News Network, BNN 247, is to bring as much knowledge and education as we can muster. And I really do thank my co-host, Mr. Claude Foster, for being on here with me and engaging in the conversation the way we do, because it always is healthy and it's good and it's thought-provoking. And that's exactly what we intend to do, to bring up every aspect of what our conversation is about. And we segued from guns in black men hand and white men hand into the good white men. So next week we got another thing for you. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but we're going to evolve this story a little bit further. So if you can take the black and white gun ownership, then you can take the black and white business ownership. Then you can take where we go next, probably to the families. And I've always wanted to do a show about interracial families. And I really am concerned about the professional athlete because it seems like I'd say 7 out of 10 professional athletes are married outside, black athletes are married outside of their race. And is that a trend or is that sending a message to somebody like the black women just ain't good enough for these millionaire athletes?
No, I think it's much. I think it's much simpler than that. When you were growing up, and you said, "When I get a bunch of money, I'm going to do what?" You always want something that you couldn't have or didn't have. I think that's what drives it. I think it's just another because when you look at who chooses white women, I mean they're not just the regular man on the street. You don't see many black and white relationships with just the man on the street. I mean, or at least we don't hear about them. I mean, but I think it's just as fundamental as that. I think you always want what you couldn't have, but now that you got the ability to have it, you get it.
Mm.
And I think that's across the spectrum, whether it's deviant behavior or whatever it is. I think it's already there, and money just allows you to manifest it.
It seems like it's out of proportion, though, don't you think? You don't think it's out of proportion? Because it's just too many. Every other black athlete got a white wife, though. That's not proportionately correct to me. In every sport, in NBA, football, baseball, everywhere, what in the hell is going on with our black women where they are not landing any of these athletes? All the white women are. What's the problem with that? I don't understand how we can look at the NBA. Let's take one basketball team. Let's take the Los Angeles.
Now take your San Antonio Spurs. I think most of the black players down
there. Let's take the Houston Rockets. No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, but you got some prominent black players on the Spurs, Tim Duncan and stuff. They passing this one white girl around, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, I've met them in the basement too. Him and his wife. She met him right at his elbow. She's a little white woman.
But I think it's just as fundamental.
It's
money,
a fundamental
you
thing. What?
Us.
You said it's fundamental. What? You froze up on me, Claude. I'll keep talking till you come
something
back.
Here that maybe going to offend, but maybe we put
that whole statement over, please. You faded out.
Well, I think money allows us to get what we thought that what we couldn't have. I don't think all these relationships are because of love. I think money allows you to do.
It's bigger than that, though. Look, why is Ketanji Jackson? She's got a white husband, right? Why does Kamala Harris, which allegedly says she's black, why does she have a white husband? Why does Clarence Thomas have a white wife? So those are three prominent individuals in our society. They belong to us. They're real black. Well, two of them are real black folks. Why do we not have our sisters represented at that level? You think that Clarence Thomas would have still got nominated if he was married to a black woman? Do you think Ketanji Jackson would have been appointed if she was married to a black man? Do you think Kamala Harris would be running for president if she had a black husband? How would that husband be perceived in America right now with Donald Trump being the opponent? Because he's talking about him already. He's talking about it, people, families and stuff. Donald Trump. Yeah. So that's why I say it's bigger than that, and it needs exploring. Because if you look at the top people that's in top positions in America, the top black folks, whether man or woman, when they get to the 6 to 7 figure incomes, they're not married to somebody their own color. They're married to
Well,
somebody.
now, well, there's exceptions. Denzel Washington's been married to a black woman. I mean, so there are exceptions to the rule.
Mm,
But I understand what you say. What you're saying. Some of the more prominent ones, and the ones that are married to the white ones tend to get more publicity than the ones that are just married to someone within their own race. So
mm,
it goes back to the press. The press focuses on what it wants us to. The liberal press
yeah,
focuses on what it wants us to know.
want
I
us
mean,
to
we're
know.
not really in control of what we see and what we hear. I mean, there's a liberal press machine out there that kind of drives everything that we talk about, everything that we hear about, everything that we see.
Mm.
And
So
so,
let's go ahead and get ready to close out. Can you bring us up to date on any news articles that you may have ran across this week, and give me add them to your closing statement, and let's get
oh,
ready to break.
well, one of the more interesting things I found out, I didn't know, like, I know Trump gave a huge amount of money to historically black colleges and universities, right?
Mm,
And I didn't know that, like 16 of the most prominent historically black colleges and universities were founded by Republican white men. So maybe that's why he gave all that money to historically black colleges and universities. Maybe somebody made him aware of the fact that that's who founded them. And so he felt an obligation to the Howards, the Morehouses, the Spelmans, all founded by white Republicans. So maybe that's why he gave the money. I found
mm,
that kind of interesting. You don't hear the press make that connection,
right,
you know.
right.
Uh, so I thought that was quite interesting.
Mm,
And the subject of the day was quite interesting about what where the value is, how valuable whiteness is in America. I
mm,
mean, it's so whether it's lawyers, whether it's teachers, whether it's whatever the profession, white people tend to be paid more, and white women get paid more than black men doing the same type of business. So I mean, it's their country, and we don't really hear the truth. We this I was telling readers, everybody should read this book by Tanisha Coates, The Message,
mm,
because it is a message for Black America.
mm.
And if you probably went to the library there in San Antonio, you probably couldn't even get it. It's probably a waiting list like it is here in Houston at the public library. I just got notified by a friend of mine that it was 107 people on the wait list
For that book?
for this book. You know who Tanisha Coates is, right?
No, I don't.
The New York Times article author. But the big controversy, he visited South Carolina, he visited Africa, and he visited Israel.
Mm,
And he talks about the responsibility that black journalists have to tell the truth. And it's a really controversial right now, not because of the South Carolina aspect of it and what he experienced going back to Africa, because you know what white people think of us as Black Americans,
what?
and so he went back to Africa to his roots to see whether or not any of the prejudices that Black people have toward us in America is true. And he talks about that experience. Same thing in South Carolina, but what's been getting a lot of the publicity was his views on South Africa and how Israel treats the Palestinians. And what he saw there was just basic racism. And so he was on CBS News, and Tony, one of the newscasters, said if you took away the cover of this book, if you took away his title, if you took away the publisher, and you just focus on that chapter where he went to Israel, this
Mm,
would be this would be the kind of information that a terrorist would put in their backpack. That's how he saw the book. He got chastised for that. And
mm,
so Tanisha Coates has been all over the press, man. And I'm often surprised how the the so-called the kind of ironic things that we should be reading the liberal press, does not put it out
They
there.
don't
Like
put it on,
MS,
don't let
and
you.
that shows me how much we watch 3 networks: CNN,
NBC.
MSNBC, and CBS.
Yeah.
And they tell us what they want us to hear and
Yeah.
see.
Mhm.
But
And it's
every
not,
now and then that comes something along that's so powerful and so big that they can't hide it. And so I've been telling all my friends to get a copy of this. It's not an expensive book. To get a copy of this, and you really understand racism and the construct and what Israel. Because his point is, no democracy has ever become a democracy out of free will. They've used force,
Mhm.
but that don't mean you got to treat your citizens as second class citizens.
Once you get in, once you
Right.
get it
Right.
established.
And what Israel has is a second class. They claim he. You got to read the book. I mean, he's a lot more articulate in arguing his position than I ever would. But if you don't read nothing between now and next week, get this and
Get that book, right?
get that and read it. So that's what I've been reading.
Mhm.
I've also been following up with this book, Negroes with Guns.
Tell me about it. What's up with that one?
Well, this is just about the history, the black tradition of arms by
Mhm.
African Americans that we don't. That story is never. That tradition is never told to us.
Mhm.
The tradition that's told of us is that we are just this humble slave. We didn't fight for our rights and stuff like that, and that's just not true.
Mhm.
Because if more black people knew this history, I think a lot of the atrocities that happened to us probably wouldn't have happened. So
Mhm.
and then there's another book by Robert F. Williams called Negroes with Guns. And
That's
Robert
another
Williams, I know
copy.
about him
Shit.
because he was the NAACP president in Monroe, North Carolina.
Uh-huh.
He's a soldier like us. He's an ex-military guy, and he
And it's
came back to Monroe, North Carolina, and basically created a NAACP branch of people that fought back in that community.
Mhm.
And he had to escape America to go to and live out his life in Cuba because he was on America's Most Wanted list, and he never
Now,
meant to
what's his
kill
name
anybody.
again?
Robert N. Williams. Look him up.
Okay, Robert F. Williams.
Robert F. Williams. I'm sorry. And but this story needs to be told. I wish we could get maybe one of his family members or a family member on our show,
Mhm.
because these are the kind of stories that we need to tell. These are the kind of stories that the liberal press will never tell you about,
Mhm.
that you won't see on C-SPAN.
Mhm.
So,
Well,
so
that's beautiful, that Claude. I mean, that's beautiful. We gotta get in these books. That's where the knowledge
man,
is.
we got to, man, because for us have been kept from us.
Mhm.
This portrait of us that America has created is a false portrait,
Yeah.
And so the good thing about it, man, is unlike when you and I were born,
Mhm.
social media and programs and the ability to do stuff like this is
Mhm.
making more people aware.
More accessible and more
Because
aware.
they hear something, they see something, or you throw up about a book or something that you need to go out and read, and that's the first time they will have heard about it. So
Mhm.
social media is kind of bridging that gap between what the press keeps from us and what we need to, what we need
I
to
have
hear.
a question for you.
Yeah.
I developed a system so every day I get some reading in, and every day I work on myself. And
Right.
it may be for 10 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour or 2 hours, who knows, whatever the time permits. But I make it a point, I'm going to do this every day. Either when I
Right.
get up in the morning, I'm going to pick up a book, read something, if it ain't nothing but a paragraph,
Right.
and I'm going to go do something productive.
Right.
And or I'm going to do it late at night, right before I go to bed. I'm going to pick up a book, do my reading, and then go to bed. Read till I get sleepy, then go to bed. So
Right.
that's my process. Do you have a process that you normally do when you read?
Well,
'Cause people, that's the thing. People don't take the time to physically, mentally think out how to get this done.
well, you know what I do. I pretty much like you. I read when my eyes are fresh, so I tend to read early in the morning. Uh, have a cup of coffee or something, and pick up a book early in the morning. I have to get up early to take my daughter to school, so I'll grab a book. You're fresh, your mind is fresh, and so it's your mind is kind of open to absorbing a lot of new information because it's not tired. So I tend to
Mhm.
do it in the morning because
Mhm.
reading just I mean, it empowers you, and it starts you start to think critically. So when you hear, I talk to people all the time, and their argument for everything that they say is something they heard on MSNBC
On TV, right?
or
Yeah.
some on CNN.
What did
They
you
ha-
read? What
they
book did
have
you
no
look at?
other. They have no other. They have gathered no other information from no other source other than what they was. That's a mental slavery, man.
They got a lot of people locked in on dumb shit
You know,
that
so
don't
they
make
make their whole
sense
arguments
to you.
based on what CNN said or based on what MSNBC said.
Mhm. So I think what
You
we're
know, that's
doing
what
with
we.
you and is good, man. And I really do appreciate it. Yes, you don't know, Claude. I think about it every day, and I
Mhm.
really do appreciate you being here and taking the show the way you do.
Well, we just gotta, we like I said, people. I got a call from my niece because I had sent out. She said they listened to the show and
Mm-hmm.
they really enjoyed it. And they one of them's in North Carolina, one of them's in Virginia. So it's
Wow.
getting out there,
Mm-hmm. The
and they
views,
both
I
have
can see the views going up, man. We're
yeah.
getting a lot of views now. So
And
that's
so
that's a that's a positive thing. I'm happy to see that.
so we're talking to I mean we're talking about stuff. People are hearing things that they don't normally hear. I
Mm-hmm.
talk to my friends all the time about different stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes you question things, man. The more knowledge you have, the more you question the status quo. You question what you hear on MSNBC, like you say, Kamala Harris's. Her theme is beat Trump. That's her theme,
Yeah,
or at least that's what I'm being told is her
that's
theme.
it. Nothing for the America but to beat Trump.
But to beat Trump, what are we getting? Once we beat Trump, what are we getting out of it?
Nothing, because we do all this work like we're electing these people, but we really not. And we only start doing our civic training 6 months out from election, and that's too late. I mean, if we don't start civic training in January, we might as well just say let it go
Yeah,
because it's a monthly or weekly thing. We need to set it up where no matter if only one person show up for a 1 hour training every Saturday, that's fine. But
well,
every single Saturday in the month in the year 2025, we should have something set up in a library for civics because people don't know civics anymore. People can't tell you the executive, the legislative, and the judicial system responsibilities. They can't tell you anything about the Senate. They can't tell you anything about the House of Representatives. They can't tell you anything about the appointments at the Supreme Court. They can't tell you anything. They don't know none of this. They don't teach this in school anymore. So I would think we need to start breaking down the training of the civic system in America because if we don't know the system, we never gonna learn how to use it. If you want to learn how to operate a piece of equipment, you just can't pick it up and go to work with it. You got to learn how to use it, or you're gonna f it up. So
I mean, we have to ask questions too. If you're spending $30,000 a year to teach a child to read, and the child can't read, what kind of education system is that? See, we have to start challenging the facts in front of us, man, and
mhm,
and start demanding something different,
mhm,
and not just go with what we're told. I mean, my wife's an educator, so I support unions. You know, I was in education there for a while from a different perspective, but we
mhm,
have to ask tough questions. I mean, otherwise, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, we're going to be, I'm sure we're talking about the same stuff that they talked about back in the 60s and 70s. We're talking about now.
Yeah. I figured out, I'm thinking this is what I would like us to do our next week's show on.
Mm-hmm.
And that is food. I mean, the cost of food, a particular food. Like let's go to Popeye's Chicken, and you remember that craving for that one chicken sandwich came out.
Mm-hmm.
Or break that sandwich down and see what drove people to go want to fight for that damn sandwich. Then I want to take the chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A and break it down, and then see why people are always lined up outside of Chick-fil-A trying to get a damn chicken sandwich. And I want to go to McDonald's and break down the Big Mac, the fries. Where does shit come from? Where the potato come from? What do they put in the potato? And how the damn fries taste so damn good. I love some McDonald's French fries, but I very rarely. I probably ate them one time this year, and I didn't eat that many at that. So, but I love some.
But now you're getting into the whole thing of the food industry and the drug industry, and like menthols. Why are black people predisposed to menthol cigarettes?
Ooh, that was some good damn Newports. I smoked Newports 100 years ago.
Because
that was to our target. They targeted that to us, though.
Right. They targeted the black community. They came in gave away free samples and sponsored rap and all these kind of shows. That's why we were. And you got black folks hooked on menthol cigarettes to this day.
Still smoking them damn Newports.
And the government allows those rules because the two or three biggest tobacco companies are right there in Richmond, Virginia.
This is something that I just learned too, Claude, that the tobacco companies now own the food companies.
Mm-hmm.
They're the owners of Nabisco, a couple other big names that can't remember, but the tobacco company owns the food companies. What kind? I don't understand that shit. I'm gonna dig into that.
And then you we was talking about government and the agencies, the regulatory agencies and stuff that allow this kind of stuff, right?
Mm.
I mean, we just went through COVID. Look at the billions of dollars that were made from those two drugs. That the government came out with it.
Tons of money. Where did that money come from?
No, not tons, man. I mean, just an amount of money that you can't even imagine. And
it's a lot. Yeah.
I mean, so what I'm saying is,
look at the PPP loans, man. They gave these big corporations millions of dollars and forgave it all.
And just wrote it off. And
they know they were wrong for that.
And then they hired all these IRS agents to go after the little guys that got the money, the 20,000, the 50,000, the 80,000. 80. Who you think they're going after? They're going after the people, the small business owners that got those loans. Yeah.
They don't want nobody that can fight.
That lied that they have 10 employees and they didn't have none, or lied that,
created. Yeah, because I know people got 200, 300,000 and they ain't even got no damn business.
Right. That's who they're looking for. Yeah, that's who they're going after. That's why they needed 80,000 new agents. They're trying to recoup all that money
from the wrong end, from the bottom up.
From the bottom up. And so, I mean, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of truth to be told. And I think that's what BNN 247 is trying to do, is contribute to those truths that need to be told.
Right. And one thing before we close, I want to say that we have to keep digging deep into information like this, because you will never hear on the three major networks like you said. So as long as we stay focused on, we're doing our thing. I mean, I think we're doing a pretty good job on bringing information to our culture, which is the purpose of BNN 247. So next week, let's dive into this food issue and the corporate issues that you and I just spoke about, and take it a step further. So that way we got a head up on what we got to do. So Claude,
Right.
go ahead and close us out, and let's take it to another level.
Well, I pretty much just did my closing statement. So
Okay.
I look forward to us coming back together next week and having another really educating, stimulating show.
Oh shoot! Hold up! I gotta tell you something here. I just looked at the messages. I'm sorry, Quintina Jackson. I just saw this. She said, "How do your listeners call in? What do you say we are, or who do you say we are?" And then Obama has a black wife. So next Sunday at 3:30, Quintina Jackson, I would love for you to be on the show. I'm going to give you my email, and then we'll go from there. And that way we can talk a little bit deeper about some of your questions. So I'll send that in the comments. But
Well, just for transparency, that's my little niece, Quintina Jackson.
huh?
That's my niece, Quintina Jackson.
That's your niece.
Yeah,
Well, you give her the information
I'll
then.
make sure she gets the information.
Okay, that is
We
your niece, so that's all
yeah,
right, Claude. She asking all kind of questions.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
Obama does have a black wife. That's a beautiful thing. All right,
yes.
so we hope to bring her on. Then we think she want to be on the show.
Oh yeah, she's a very bright young lady. So yeah,
All
we
right,
want
so
to bring her and other young people like her on board on the show to get that perspective.
all right,
Uh,
so I'll
because
send
that's
you the
that's
link.
who we're kind of targeting.
All
Yeah, we'll get them on
right,
the show next week.
all right. So with that, thank you everyone for enjoying the Black News Network. See you later, Claude.
All
We're gonna get up out of here and go do some other things. So thank you so much for being a member and for listening to us bring you the message today. So have a great day today and a better day tomorrow.